Thank you, Deb, for being here to celebrate the 22nd Happiness Happens Month with us. So we just met
Yes.
through a mutual friend, Elizabeth, and she told me that you would probably have a great story to tell us about love, which is one of the 31 types of happiness. Now, love is a really broad umbrella too, because we love our pets, we love our kids, we have romantic love. So we have all sorts of love. Some people love their plants and talk to them. So we love a lot of different things. We can love our jobs. So I'd love to hear your story about love that, what first pops in mind.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for having me today. I guess my story would be on love for self-love, but that involves a lot of different things like love for your parents, love for your children, love for your own life, all kinds of different things. But my book was based on, after 60 years, I did a DNA test for fun. Didn't seem to be so much fun after I did it, finding out that my father, my dad was not my biological father. So I had spent my whole life knowing that my mom, in lack of a better word, didn't like me. She was, there was many things going on, the way she treated me, me compared to my brother and compared to her friendships and things like that. But I just kind of took it, 60 years of, she just doesn't like me. What is wrong with me? And she had no problem telling me what was wrong with me over the years. So I had to, I spent most of my life not thinking I was a very nice person. So basically I'm an overachiever. And so in the end, finding out why, and she was already deceased when I found out all this information.
Oh, wow.
I went on a very long journey to find out who my father was, and my dad had already passed as well. I actually found out on the day of his death 25 years later.
Your
that he was
biological dad or your dad?
No, how I distinguish between the two of them is I call my dad because he was my dad. Doesn't matter if he was biological or not. And then I have a father. I have a donor, a father, a biological father. That's what I call him. So all three people involved are deceased. So
like a murder mystery.
It was about a 3 or 4 year journey. I found a sister. So I have found, she at the time, I mean, I don't know, we've been together 3 years now. So I think she's going to be 70, I'm 68. So when I was 65, I found my sister, and I had a brother from, my family growing up. So I finally got a sister. So there's so much love involved, finding a sister, sisterly love. There's good and bad, like, we didn't have sleepovers and we didn't have fights as teenagers and all these things, but we are certainly getting to know each other. And that's a wonderful love. So that's one love. But I think the most important love in my book was, and in the end, I learned to have self-love. I learned to let go. And I spent a lot of time talking about forgiveness. And what I found in the end is like, do you forgive your mother for what she did? She was living her own hell, basically, in her own life. And she had a mental illness. And it's not me to be the judge and jury. It's my solace to forgive, but forgiving myself for putting myself through all of that. One thing I've learned is to trust my gut, whatever I feel in my gut. And that really, your gut will never do you wrong, basically. So what's ever in your heart, however you want to say it, or what's in your gut, go with that. If it feels wrong, it's probably wrong. And so I started doing that, and it's like, oh, self-love, this is great. It was like this whole big relief off my shoulder. It's like I was carrying all these bricks. And so it's like, okay, now I have the self-love. So, I think everybody should look into their life and look into whatever is making them feel whatever. If they're down, especially women, down on themselves all the time, society, it just makes them feel like, oh, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not successful enough. Just looking into who you are, not not what's out there, but who you are inside. And I think that's the best kind of love anybody can have.
Well, it is. Can I ask you, when did you start your self-love journey?
Well, it's been a journey my whole life trying to figure out, because I was always told as a child, I think one of my mother's favorite things to say is, "What is wrong with you?" And that would come after reading a book. I was an avid reader. I'm a publisher. I own a publishing company, but I was an avid reader. It's like, why do you read all the time? What is wrong with you? Why do you like to dance? What is wrong with you? So that was the mantra of my life. And so I've always been on that journey, but I think as I want to say probably age 40 and starting up. So it's a long journey. It's something that you have to do every day, like reading your book and reading all the things that make you happy, because we forget. Life sometimes makes us forget. And so you have to, remember, you have to do things for yourself. And it's one of the things that I teach is respect, and, respect, love, hope, all these things, are kind of all mingled together, mean the same thing. And if you cannot respect something, if you don't have self-respect, you have to have self-respect, and then you can have mutual respect. But you have to love yourself first and respect yourself. So once you do that, I think it starts, once you understand that, I should say, not once you do it, but once you understand it and understand who you are and accept who you are, you can move on and start the journey, because it just doesn't end. It's always an ongoing journey.
No, I love that. And actually, respect is also one of the 31 types of happiness. And in fact, I just spoke to somebody about that yesterday. I haven't sequenced which order everybody's interview is going to be in, but respect is definitely a type of happiness, because I think you have to be happy. Usually you have to actually be respectful, because it's about liking yourself,
Right.
Respecting yourself enough not to be reactive all the time, and like I said, respecting how you react to people, because that's one thing you can control. You can't control how they react to you. So I love that part of your journey. So you wear many professional hats. So you just said publisher, coach. I read on your bio, you are an author, so creative, another type of happiness. So do you want to share a little bit about your book, Independence, and show everybody the cover?
Oh, sure. I'll just show you the book. There's the book, Independence, and it's a memoir of secrets, discovery, and forgiveness. And it's about me. And it's interesting, when I wrote the book, everybody in my family said, well, what'd you say about me? I think every time somebody writes a memoir, they say, oh, what'd you say about me? And there's people, of course, there's people in it, of course, but it's not about the other people. And that's what I always told everybody. It's about my life. It's called Independence because it's kind of a play on words, because I found my independence. I was also born on Independence Day. So I found it to be a great title. And so the book has been out for a year and a half. It's a bestseller. It was kind of a complete, as I'm getting ready to somewhat retire. It was the completion of that phase 1 or 2, whatever, and for me to move into a new phase of my life. So that's the book. The reason I own a publishing company is when I wrote my first book, and I wanted it submitted and published. And I found that after I did that, I liked the publishing aspect better than I did writing. So I got into more publishing other people's books. I've written a lot of children's books. This is my first memoir, my first long book. I'm going to start writing another one soon. But I have many children's books, and they're all on social awareness. So there are, like you said, the respect. It's respect, love, hope, kindness. A big one. I just had a book come out, inclusion. Just being socially aware. I think that's one thing that our society really needs help in. So that's kind of what I do. I do coach. I do parenting coaching. I've been a parent for many, many years, but I'm also a professional coach. I've always done operations. I've been like a COO job, things like that. So I do like that type, human resource type stuff. And I'm self-employed. So when you're self-employed, you do not put one egg in your basket, you put many so that you can get paid.
Yeah, no,
So
that
that's
is,
why I do all those things. I also own a nonprofit agency, run that agency, and that's to empower children and their families to learn about social awareness and social consciousness.
well, social is also one of the 31 types of happiness, and a lot of the book titles you did are part of our 31 types of
Right,
happiness.
because it's all happiness. When you have all those things, it's like you're diagnosing happiness, and all those pieces come together and you have your happiness.
Exactly. It again, that's one of the things I've talked about for 20 plus years is happiness is a broad spectrum of things. So our final question that I'm
Okay.
asking everybody that I've interviewed is, we live in this world of groupthink and even competitive happiness. And in the course of that, we sometimes lose our happiness as personal, which is actually the first principle in my book, Practical Happiness. Principle 1 is happiness is personal. We have to always know what makes us happy. So it might not make our significant other happy, or it might not make our kids happy, or our other family members, or our girlfriends, or our buddies happy. It's just kind of our personal happiness. And of course, that can change depending on phases of life and many things. But what is one of your personal happinesses?
Well, I think aside from family and children and grandchildren and dogs and people, I think one of the things that I value about me is being able to accomplish, to see what I can do. I guess the word would be challenge. When I challenge myself and I complete that challenge, or I go beyond my own expectations. So being my own cheerleader. And I think that's the one thing professionally that I do, and personally. I love to achieve what I started. And I think learning and achieving is something you do until the day you die. And I think when you stop learning and you stop pushing yourself is when, you're done. So that's what I would say mine is: challenge, completing
Yeah,
it.
I love that, because it seems to also really connect to your self-love.
Right.
It's sort of part of that whole circle for you. So thank you, Deb, so much for being here with us and sharing parts of your story and sharing your happiness with us this month. And so I'm sure we will stay in touch.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.